Hey guys, it's Jackstown here, and since the NFL draft ended just a few days ago, I thought we could take a look at some of the worst draft choices for each team that just didn't pan out in the NFL. Also, let me know what other busts your favorite team has drafted that were not mentioned in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So without further ado, here is every NFL team's biggest draft bust of all time. Buffalo Bills, J.P. Losman. Drafted 22nd overall in 2004, Losman never put it together for the Bills. In 5 years as the Bills starter, he threw more interceptions than touchdowns and had a 10-23 record as a starter for the team. And worst of all, the Bills traded their 2005 first-round pick that season to move up to get Losman, and they could have used that pick on Aaron Rodgers. Miami Dolphins, Dion Jordan. Taken 3rd overall in 2013, the Finns traded up 9 spots just to take the supposed best defensive player in that draft, only for him to be a massive disappointment who has faced multiple league suspensions and is at best just an average defensive player at this point in his career, and doesn't look like that will change anytime soon. New England Patriots, Chris Canny. The 29th pick in 1997, cornerback Chris Canny was supposed to be a terrific shutdown corner after an awesome career at Kansas State, but in reality, he only ended up playing 4 seasons in the league, totaling only 4 interceptions in his short-lived NFL career, and is considered by many as Pat Nation's biggest bust to date. New York Jets, Vernon Gholston. The 6th overall pick in 2008, after putting together a great combine, convinced the Jets that he would be a generational player, but he was the exact opposite. In only 3 NFL seasons, he never even recorded a single sack. The Jets have had many draft disappointments in the past, but Gholston stands alone. Baltimore Ravens, Kyle Boller. Selected 19th overall in 2003, Boller was a part-time starter for the Ravens for 5 seasons and had a 20-22 record as a starter, and clearly proved that he was a decent backup at best, with more career interceptions than touchdowns. Cincinnati Bengals, Akili Smith. Taken 3rd overall in 1999, Smith sucked pretty bad as a starter, going 3-14 lifetime and had only 5 career passing touchdowns. He deservingly got benched after just 2 seasons and was completely out of the league after 4 seasons. He is the true definition of a bust. Cleveland Browns, Johnny Manziel. One of the most hyped quarterbacks to ever be drafted, Johnny Football was a massive disappointment, and everyone knows it. He only started 8 games and went 2-6 in those games, and although he was drafted relatively recently in 2014, Manziel hasn't played a single NFL snap since 2015. He's currently working on a comeback, but none of us seem very hopeful, and for good reason. Pittsburgh Steelers, Huey Richardson. The 15th pick in 1991 only lasted 2 seasons in the NFL, and not only did he not record a single sack in his career, he didn't even record a single tackle. In fact, he was so pathetic that Pittsburgh traded him after just 1 year, and he lasted just 1 year after that between the Jets and Redskins. Houston Texans, David Carr. The 1st overall pick in 2002 and the older brother of Derek Carr, David Carr was a pathetic 23 of 56 as a starter in his career and had more interceptions than touchdowns. In fairness, he had a pretty awful offensive line on the Texans, but it was still pretty clear that Carr didn't have the it factor the Texans were looking for. Indianapolis Colts, Jeff George. The 1st pick in the 1990 draft was a huge bust for the Colts. In just 4 seasons in Indy, George had 46 picks to just 41 touchdowns and was a terrible 14-35 as a starter. He was supposed to be what Peyton Manning would eventually become for the Colts, but he never even finished close to what Peyton Manning was able to achieve. Jacksonville Jaguars, Justin Blackmon. Although my Jags have had plenty of busts, Blackmon sits at the top of the list in my opinion. In 2012, the Jaguars used their 5th overall pick on the hyped receiver, and he only lasted 2 years in the NFL due to poor play and off-the-field issues. There have been rumors in recent years that Blackmon may want to return to the NFL, but honestly, it's not going to happen. Tennessee Titans, Jake Locker. The 8th pick in 2011, Locker never put it together in the NFL, starting only 23 of 48 games in his 3 seasons with the Titans due to injuries, and his lack of accuracy made him a decent backup at best. Denver Broncos, Ted Gregory. In 1988, the Broncos used their 26th pick on college standout Ted Gregory, and what a mistake it would be. He never even played a single game for the Broncos as he was traded to the Seahawks prior to the start of his rookie season and only ended up playing in 3 career games. Kansas City Chiefs, Todd Blackledge. The 7th overall selection in 1983 was a massive letdown for KC. The worst part of this pick is not just Blackledge's poor play, but the fact that the Chiefs passed on future Hall of Fame quarterbacks Jim Kelly and Dan Marino to get him. And not to mention, he wasn't very good in his 24 starts as he'd ended up throwing 26 touchdowns and 32 interceptions in that time. Los Angeles Chargers, Ryan Leaf. One of the most famous busts in NFL history, Ryan Leaf never even came close to the hype he was getting coming out of college. The former number 2 overall pick in 1998 was a really bad NFL quarterback. In just 3 NFL seasons, he finished with a 4-17 record as a starter, and in that time threw for 14 touchdowns and a whopping 36 interceptions. He also only completed 48.4% of his passes in that time. Just awful. And just imagine, the Colts, who had the first pick that year, were debating between Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. And boy, did they make the right choice taking Manning. Las Vegas Raiders, JaMarcus Russell. In contention as the worst pick in league history, JaMarcus Russell was an infamously colossal bust. Taken first overall in 2007, the super hyped QB only played 3 NFL seasons, going 7-18 as a starter and throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. It was the combination of off-the-field issues, weight management issues, and just overall poor play that made Russell's career very short-lived. Dallas Cowboys, Morris Claiborne. The 6th pick in 2012 never lived up to his promise heading into the draft. In fairness though, despite suffering many injuries, Claiborne is still hanging around in the NFL, but the fact that the Cowboys had to give up a 2nd-round pick just to move up to take him, and the fact that he never even got close to reaching his star potential, makes him America's team's biggest bust. New York Giants, Derrick Brown. Drafted 14th overall in 1992, the Giants thought Brown could be a Hall of Fame caliber tight end, but he was far from that. In 6 career seasons, Brown totaled only 401 yards and only 1 career touchdown, which nowadays isn't even considered a very good season for a pass-catching tight end, let alone 6. Philadelphia Eagles, Kevin Allen. The 9th pick in 1985 was a huge bust for the Eagles. The former offensive tackle only played 1 season in Philly before testing positive for cocaine in training camp before the next season even started. He was released shortly after and was later charged with rape and sexual assault and never even saw another snap in the NFL. Washington Redskins, Heath Shuler. The 3rd overall pick in 1994 just could not put it together in the NFL and was criticized by many people for not being able to read defense as well. In only 4 NFL seasons, he finished 8-14 as a starter with 15 touchdowns to an abysmal 33 interceptions and completed less than 50% of his passes for his entire career. Chicago Bears, Kevin White. The 7th pick in 2015 had number 1 receiver written all over him coming out of college, but injury after injury combined with just not transitioning well to the NFL absolutely derailed his career. He didn't play a single game in his rookie season and hasn't played a single game since 2018, totaling only 285 career yards and 0 career touchdowns. I hope someone gives him another chance in free agency, but it seems far from a guarantee at this point. Detroit Lions, Andre Ware. Taken 7th overall in 1990, the former Heisman winner was thought by the Lions to be their next franchise QB, but he was anything but that. He only lasted 14 games in 4 seasons, totaling only 5 touchdowns and 8 interceptions for his career. He was out of the NFL in 1993 and has to be the Lions' biggest draft regret. Green Bay Packers, Tony Mandarich. The 2nd overall pick in 1989 is known best for being sandwiched between several Hall of Famers in that draft. The first pick that year was Troy Aikman, and the 3 picks right after Mandarich were Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Dion Sanders. Dang, that's 4 Hall of Famers, 3 of which the Packers could have had, but passed on to take the hyped offensive lineman. He only played 2 seasons for the Packers and 6 total in the NFL, and later admitted to using steroids throughout his career. Minnesota Vikings, Troy Williamson. The 7th selection in 2005 was drafted to be Randy Moss's replacement, but fell so unbelievably short of those expectations. His extraordinary speed blew scouts away prior to the draft, but he just couldn't put it together in the NFL. He was out of the league by 2010, compiling only 1,131 yards and a measly 4 touchdowns. Atlanta Falcons, Tony Smith. Drafted 19th overall in 1992, Tony Smith was a standout at Southern Mississippi, but the only thing that stood out about him in the NFL was just how much of a disappointment he was. He only lasted 3 years in the NFL and totaled a pathetic 329 yards and 2 touchdowns, all of which came in his rookie season, as after that he never even got a single carry. Carolina Panthers, Jeff Otah. Taken 19th in 2008, the offensive tackle only played 2 seasons in Carolina and was a mediocre starter at best. He then missed all of 2010 due to an injury, and in 2011 when the Panthers wanted to trade him to the Jets, he failed a physical and the trade did not go through, and he never played an NFL snap again. New Orleans Saints, Russell Erxleben. The highest drafted punter or kicker in the last 50 years, taken 11th overall in 1979, Erxleben was a huge bust. He didn't even win the kicker job for the Saints, as he was only 4 for 8 in field goals in his entire career. He was, however, the Saints punter for 5 seasons, but wasn't anything special, leaving many to wonder why in the world did the Saints use their 1st round pick on a special teamer. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bo Jackson. Many don't consider the former #1 overall pick in 1986 a bust, since he was so famous for his athletic ability and the fact that he also played Major League Baseball. But the truth of the matter is that Jackson never lived up to his incredible hype. Worst of all, due to the off-the-field issues and disputes with the team, he never even played for the Bucs and ended up suiting up for the Raiders for only 4 seasons, never going over 1,000 yards in any of those seasons, and being out of the NFL by 1990. Arizona Cardinals, Matt Leinart. The 10th pick in 2006 by the Cards was pretty awful in his short-lived NFL career. In just 17 starts in Arizona, he went 7-10 as a starter and threw 14 touchdowns to 20 interceptions. He was out of the NFL after 6 seasons, and the highly touted QB out of USC never came close to his high expectations. Los Angeles Rams, Lawrence Phillips. Drafted 6th overall in 1996, the 2-time national champion at Nebraska was so liked by the Rams that they traded their current running back, Jerome Bettis, who would go on to be a Hall of Famer, just to clear room for Phillips. But Phillips had so many off-the-field issues, and the Rams paid for it, as he was done with the NFL after 4 seasons and never had more than 677 yards in any of those seasons. San Francisco 49ers, Jim Druckenmiller. The 26th pick in 1997 was supposed to be the successor to Steve Young in San Fran, but he only ended up playing in 6 games for the 49ers before being traded to Miami in 1999. But he never even attempted a pass after 1998, so he'll go down as an all-time disappointment for the Niners. Seattle Seahawks, Rick Mirer. The 2nd overall pick in 1993, unlike many of these other picks, actually had a pretty long career in the NFL, lasting 10 seasons. The problem was that he was drafted to be the Seahawks franchise quarterback and fell very short of those expectations. He did total over 10,000 passing yards in his career, but he was so inefficient as he had a career of 50 touchdowns to 76 interceptions. In fact, Mirer is the only QB since 1970 to attempt at least 2,000 passes and have a completion percentage under 55% and average less than 6 yards per pass attempt. Not good. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications for more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you all later.